Ambassador, about 50 countries, a little bit more, 50 countries?
55.
55. Population of Africa?
1.27 billion.
1.27 billion people. Mm-hmm. Give me a couple of success stories.
Success stories, we are having increased rates of literacy. We have many African countries that are increasing their GDPs. 6 of the top 10 fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of good news coming out of Africa. But again, because of this same strategy of branding Africa as a diseased and dying continent where people are constantly at war with each other, people are not seeing the good news out of Africa.
So what are the myths? What are the myths about Africa? Just name 3 things that we should get in our minds that when Africa is in the conversation or Africa is in the news, that we should be thinking about. 3 myths.
1, Africa is the richest continent on earth by far.
Hello?
Yes. No continent comes even close. 1. 2, we are all Africans because life began in Africa. Life as we know it, I can tell you, my brother, right now, you do your DNA testing, I can tell you a good 50% of you is African. We are all Africans. And thirdly...
Proud to be.
Proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then thirdly, I want everybody to know about the wonderful news coming out of Africa. Remember we were talking about the Berlin Conference, how we were designed to fail through these little countries we were divided up? Well, guess what? Game is over. April this year, we saw our leaders come together and signing the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Yes.
Yes, so we have 50 countries that have already signed, and we're going through the process of ratifications. We only need 22 of the 50 to ratify. Already we have 10 ratifications deposited with the African Union.
So free trade agreement in Africa.
In Africa.
For African countries.
We're going to negotiate as one bloc. We have made a commitment as Africans that the only way we can survive, which is what our Pan-African fathers wanted, to speak with one voice, one continent, one voice. And we're finally getting there. We're finally beginning to bury the Berlin Conference.
Okay, African Union. What is it? What is it all about?
African Union. Remember when our Pan-African leaders met in 1964 and created OAU? It was during that wonderful Organization of African Unity. That's when Kwame Nkrumah proclaimed Africa was for the Africans and African Union now. 55 years later, we are yet to attain that perfect African Union. But that's okay. We are getting there. He also proclaimed you were not African because you were born in Africa, but rather you were African because Africa is born in you. Now, this is the most beautiful part. Yes.
Nice.
As I've lived in this country, I've met many people who may never have been born in Africa or never have even set foot in Africa, but they have Africa born in them. So I see a lot of brothers and sisters who may not look like me, but they're definitely Africans. Since 1964, after the creation of the OAU, the whole purpose of the OAU was to rebuild the Africa and destroy the boundaries that were imposed upon us during the Berlin Conference. It's been difficult because remember that seed of divide and conquer. It's deep among us. Trying to get us to work together. We are so divided among tribal lines, religious lines, even now racial lines and national lines. So we are very divided people. But getting us to realize that we are suffering from the legacy of colonialism is work in progress. We must keep preaching. People must have a serious conversation with the image in the mirror because the healing starts here.
How about your job, your mission?
My mission, I have sent here by the 55 African heads of states and my chairman, Musa Faki Mahamat, 2 major mandates to promote Africa in the Americas and also to strengthen the bridges between Africa and the Americas and to bring the children of the diaspora back home.
There are challenges, of course.
Yes, there are.
Poverty still.
Yes,
conflict, literacy, but education moving along. Health. You're a physician. That
is a serious problem. People are not aware. If all the continental African doctors were to return home today, we're only going to meet about 20% of the need. Africa needs at least 1.2 million doctors today. So as you can imagine, no amount of money put into healthcare in sub-Saharan Africa is going to deliver the desired results because the capacity is simply not there. There are more African doctors, Ghanaian African doctors, in New York City alone than in the whole country. The same is true with Nigeria and many other countries. The same is true with education and all other sectors. The capacity that Africa needs to take its rightful place on the world stage is in the diaspora. And this is because of the brain drain. And the brain drain goes back to starting with the ones that came across the Atlantic in shackles, followed by the ones who came across the Atlantic in search of greener pastures. The result is the only ingredient that is missing for Africa to move forward are its children. So that is why the African heads of states and the African Union Commission are committed to see to it that we repatriate, we reverse the brain drain.
This is a heavy-duty sentence that I've picked up in some of your interviews, past interviews. It's not easy being a Black person on Earth.
It is not.
Can you talk about that, please?
In my own humble opinion, I like to say the most endangered species on Earth is the Black man, followed by the Black woman right above them. It doesn't matter. You just have to be. You simply just have to be. I can tell you one experience I had not even long ago. My daughter got married, and it was in Maine. And after the wedding, the wedding party wanted to go to a nightclub. Now, the only Black people were my son, my daughter, and another guest, another young Black girl. Anyway, and the rest, she married a white guy. So the wedding party was his friends from high school and college. Well, the young kids were already drunk. So when they were trying to get into the nightclub, there were about 15 of them, and the police were called. But my daughter heard them say, and my son is very tall. And so there's a tall Black guy and a young lady in a pink dress. They were the only two Black people. And when the police came, they wanted to talk to those two. But the question is, they're all here. So fortunately, one of the brides maid, she's a newly graduated Harvard lawyer, and she walked right up to the police and say, "I want you to know I'm a Harvard lawyer. I have you. I'm recording you. Go right ahead." So the police completely changed their demeanor.
Sure.
But what was called in were the two Black people.
Sure.
They were not even drunk. It's the rest of the party that was drunk. But so you don't have to do anything. Sometimes you just have to be.
Yeah.
Just be yourself and you're in trouble. But really what gets me mad is, even on the continent, we get abused on our own land simply because of the color of our skin. So it's really something that I would like for people to stop and think about. When are we going to be free as Black people?